back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We got a couple of phone calls, 3 or 4 phone calls we're going to try to get through quickly here, if possible. Time is time, everyone. Tom from Eagle Creek, quickly. Looks like you have some thoughts on dam removal. What's going on, Tom?
Well, we'll start out with green Peter drawdown when all the fish dying and then gouging out the trough through all the mud and flushing it down the river and ruining, I don't know how many municipal water supplies.
Oh, it's just
and now the
terrible.
environmentalists are blaming the Corps of Engineers because they did it wrong.
Right.
I'm hoping they learn something for when it comes over to the Snake River, trying to remove those dams. I don't know if they're going to remove all 4 of them at once, draw all 4 of them at once down or do it one at a time. But if they draw down Ice Harbor, the first one, instead of having 10 miles like a Green Peter, they're going to have 32 miles of river.
Yeah.
Or reservoir to drain down. Can you imagine how much mud is behind that thing?
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be just insane. I mean, look what they did when they popped the dam on the Sandy River. For crying out loud, that river was nothing but a sand bubbles for, 5-6 years, and that's just a little tiny dam in comparison to what you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, they've got 140 miles that you're going to open up. And what's going to happen with all that silt, besides killing all the fish that are in there, all that silt's going to go down to Ice Harbor, and as soon as it hits the backwater from the Columbia, you're going to have a sand flat there that looks like Tillamook Bay at low tide.
I wouldn't argue that at all. I mean, really, if you start thinking about this whole thing, that's why there's, thoughts on both sides of this discussion, right? I mean, in the end, Tom, if this was all about saving the salmon, the wild stocks, or whatever kind of stuff that they're wanting to throw out there, if that's what this was all about, we wouldn't even be talking about it. They'll pop all the dams. In the long run, it will be better for the salmon. End of question. It's easily proven that is the case. But you're talking about a decade of absolute, how in the world do we get around what we just did? I mean, there's a lot going on there. Tom, I hate to be quick, sir, but Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for calling in. Let's try to get Mike's question in. Mike is from Salem. He's got a question about last week's tech tip. Mike, what's going on real quickly, sir?
Your fixed float, you had a piece of hollow core pencil lead on your main braid line.
Yeah.
And my question is, obviously it was kind of rounded, so from time to time that's bouncing down the river, tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
Would you think that gets snagged because it can't be quite as flexible as maybe a weight dangling off a snap swivel?
You could do it any other way. I mean, you could actually use the same setup that I have here for drift fishing with that drop snap swivel with a slinky on it as well. The thing of it is that it doesn't have the same amount of feel as the way that pencil lead on the main line actually fishes, and you'd be shocked. That lead that's on there that I showed you in that tech tip, that's years old. Years old.
Really?
So it's a way that lead, when it's dragging along the bottom, if your distance between your lead and that fixed float is appropriate, it's at an angle, and it just does not get hung up to the point to where you can't get it back. That's, again, one of the reasons why we focus specifically on that way of rigging it. But, Mike, thank you. I hope that helps in some way, sir. Merry Christmas to you. I have to cut to a break, everyone. Dennis from Kelso, I'll try to answer your question when we come back if we have the time. So stick with us. We'll be wrapping things up in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.